They should be very happy, but now they're going to appeal it.
Michigan has to be very pleased with how things ended up for them. Typical Jim Harbaugh there.
You're going to have egg on your face forever. If people think Michigan football now, they are going to think about this scandal. Backlash against the NCAA and against Michigan. Why appeal? Why not just let this thing die? You've already self-imposed certain sanctions.
This episode of Hot Mic brought to you by Prize Picks. Preseason football is underway. College football is here. Don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money on Prize Picks.
One of the reasons we like sports, it's fun. Prize Picks, fun. Interface. The most enjoyable interface experience I've had on any app is with Prize Picks.
Very easy.
Easy to make your picks, and right now you can get ready for the NFL season by making full season picks with Prize Picks. Hutton, it never lets you down. I have a great time picking these performances every single time we go into it, and we'll do that later in this week also.
Yeah, that's right. Join us. Download the Prize Picks app today. When you do, use the code HOTMIC, HOTMIC. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HOTMIC to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. HOTMIC. HOTMIC is your code on Prize Picks and the app. Run your game. Man, the NCAA running Michigan and, running Jim Harbaugh out of college football. I think he ran himself out. It's not like he wants to come back anytime soon. Connor Stallions. What was it, a 3-year show cause initially for him? Now it ends up being, an 8?
8 year.
8 from NCAA. I mean, there's your 2 harshest penalties involving the sign stealing and what was going on behind the scenes with Connor Stallions and the whole saga that played out with Michigan winning a national championship going through that entire schedule that season. Chad, as you look at the fallout, Michigan has to be very pleased with how things ended up for them. And in terms of how things end up for Jim Harbaugh, wins a national title. He had already been flirting with the NFL for a couple of seasons leading up to that national championship year where he was trying to decide if he wanted to get back into coaching. Remember, he interviewed with the Denver Broncos the year prior to taking the Chargers job. He wanted to get back to the NFL. He doesn't want to go back to college football. Michigan's punishment, you see there, 4 years probation. And the fines end up being closer to $30 million than $20 million, you were saying?
It's estimated based on a 2-year lack of postseason pay from the Big Ten that it's going to get up closer to $30 million.
And the recruiting stipulations, I look at that and just think, whatever. In this day and age, it's NIL. Is it going to affect their NIL? No. So can you pay the top players more? If you can, you're probably going to land those recruits. It doesn't matter about a recruiting visit. At least that's the way I view it in the transfer portal window. From the high school ranks, you could probably say the same thing again. The details, are funny just because of knowing what certain people have said along the way. Michigan's been defiant with this. They've handed down their own penalties, but at the same time said that they're going to fight back on anything that the NCAA wanted to do or on-campus interviews and different investigations. They were backing their coach, of course. And, you've got Jim Harbaugh claiming innocence.
Off the field issues, we're innocent. And we stood strong and tall because we knew we were innocent. And I just like to point that out. And these guys are innocent. And overcome that. It wasn't that hard because we knew we were innocent.
We did. I laugh so much at this.
I mean,
there's Jim Harbaugh.
It's incredible.
Winning the national title. Now, keep in mind, Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, the next morning after Michigan wins the title, says they want it fair and square. So I always point this out because the whole thing's laughable. It's not like they didn't win the title. They did. None of these players have been implemented in any of this. But the Harbaugh getting the 10-year show cause and sits at the podium after winning the title. We're innocent. We're innocent. And that was a question for the players, not for Harbaugh. And he jumped in and took that answer. Just typical Jim Harbaugh there.
Yeah, why the hell are they appealing? That would be my question. Like, I think they got away with – they were going to get hammered in some way, but to have no big ramifications moving forward on the program, they should be very happy. But now they're going to appeal it. Michigan, by the way, who self-imposed suspensions for their own head coach. Remember that Sharon Moore 2-game suspension this year. That was self-imposed by Michigan. The NCAA added game 1 of next year against Western Michigan and Frankfurt, Germany, to that suspension that Michigan already self-imposed. They've self-imposed other penalties. They're not admitting, they're not saying what Jim Harbaugh just said in that video, that they're innocent. What Michigan is telling you is that, no, Jim Harbaugh is wrong. We are guilty, but we're not guilty to the level that the NCAA wants to tell us that we're guilty. So now we're going to appeal to the NCAA. This has a lot of people up in arms about it. There's always that backlash on the other side. I haven't heard a lot of the Michigan defense yet. That's probably going to start creeping out in the next couple of days. But backlash against the NCAA and against Michigan from people like Paul Feinbaum, who had this to say about the situation.
What bugs me here, John, is the hypocrisy of the Michigan fan base. I mean, they are easily among the most despicable group of overzealot fans I've ever dealt with. And the fact that they tried to act like they have a legitimate national championship, they don't. The banners won't come down, the trophies will remain, but everybody knows they cheated like bandits. Everybody knows that this thing stinks to high heaven. Everybody knows Jim Harbaugh was a total fraud in everything he said.
Well, it's always about him, not about Michigan. And I think that's probably what they're appealing is like, hey, the penalties, the record $50,000 fine, the 10% of the football budget, that's the record fine there. You have, how many years of probation? So if you're not trying to penalize future athletes or current players or coaches that have nothing to do with it, the probation, that period would if you violate this probationary period, you're supposed to get harsher penalties, right? So like you're already up against it with that. If you're not trying to punish the future Wolverines, aren't you doing that here? That would be something to appeal. But I mean, they could also say like, hey, you're coming over the top with what we've already done, and what we felt like we did was fair. Here's why. We don't deserve anything else because we've already penalized based on what we felt like was fair, given the cooperation that we had with you. Harbaugh didn't have cooperation with you. We did. So let's
Connor Stalions threw his phone into a pond.
Yeah, that's right.
He destroyed it, and he talked about in his testimony that he threw his phone into a pond. But the NCAA already had him and his network calling themselves the KGB.
Yeah.
The entire time. I mean, we all know they were cheating.
Yeah, but
and what they were up to, and it was a very elaborate scheme.
That's the only thing I come up with. I'm not disagree with you. I don't know why you appeal this, because it's I would feel great if I'm Michigan right now, knowing that that's what we have to deal with and what Harbaugh has to deal with. But it would just be like, hey, we felt like what we did was fair. We're appealing this because you're going over the top of what we've done already, and we cooperated with you. You want to cite cooperation versus lying and all this stuff. We've done exactly what you say we should have been doing, and you still, we're still on probation here. Why? That would be the appeal. And that's also, that comes to mind, that's also why they suspended Sharon Moore for a game, not this season, but next year, because had Michigan appealed, it would be until next year when he took that suspension anyway, right? Because he would go ahead and coach while the appeal was being heard, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
well, look, the verdict's out in the court of public opinion,
no doubt,
and all this, and it was out before all of this happened. So the fact that Paul Feinbaum can get angry all he wants about, it's vacated and it's not legitimate, and that's for most everyone to decide. And here's what most are going to decide: If you are a Michigan man, if you are a big Michigan supporter, you're going to say, oh, everyone steals signs and everybody's got somebody illegally filming sidelines, and it's much ado about nothing. They won that fair and square throughout the year. None of it mattered. And you're going to continue going on celebrating the 23 national title. If you're not a fan of Michigan, you're going to say they cheated their asses off. They went above and beyond what others would do. We're going to have someone on a little bit later who probably agree with that sentiment, and Bob Stoops. They cheated. They didn't deserve it. They should have been not been eligible once they were caught for the remainder of the season. The Big Ten defended them and worked with the NCAA to keep them eligible for a national title because it helps the storyline of the season. It helps the money for the Big Ten. It helps everybody involved. And they allowed them to play, and they go on and they beat Washington in the national championship game, which, by the way, Charlie Baker's right. They beat Washington fair and square. Like, they weren't doing anything below board against Washington or after they were caught with the Connor Stallions controversy. So that rest of that season, that Michigan team went perfect. And they did win every game fair and square. But does it change what they did before that? To what advantage did they get exactly? They wouldn't have been doing it if they didn't get some advantage. How big of an advantage?
Yeah.
Connor Stallions would argue that it's not that big of a difference or an advantage because others are doing it. It's really how you want to view this. But I just have a hard time understanding why Michigan, who in the end of all this, they get to keep their national title. They're not going to lose scholarships moving forward or bowl bans or anything else. Why appeal? Why not just let this thing die? You've already self-imposed certain sanctions. Just let's start to move forward with all of this. You got your head coach. He's going to sit 2 games this year. He's going to sit the opener next year.
It's 2 games that you chose.
By the way, it's not hurting them in recruiting. They're about to land the 5-star number 1 running back in the country, Savion Hyder, out of Virginia.
Underwood.
They're about to get him. He's down to Tennessee and Michigan, and all signs are pointing to Michigan being the landing spot. It's not like he saw this news drop
Is Connor
on
Stallions
Friday,
coaching in
and
his high
he's
school?
like, no. I don't think he moved to Virginia. I think he does all of his work in the state of Michigan. I'm not sure he's allowed by the
Did that with
Virginia
Bryce Underwood.
Athletic Association to move there. But it's not like it's hurting you in the future with recruiting or anything else you're trying to do. So just let it be. Like, you're going to have egg on your face forever. If people think Michigan football now, they are going to think about this scandal. And you can forget about Michigan men from here on out, which was the dumbest thing ever before, to act like you're morally above everyone else in all that you do. But it doesn't stop, Jim Harbaugh.
Sure.
Who loves touting that.
Jim Harbaugh, who, while he's with the Chargers last year, was asked, hey, do you plan on letting everyone know that, you're sorry for what you did?
Never lie, never cheat, never steal. I was raised with that lesson. I have raised my family on that lesson. I have preached that lesson to the teams that I've coached. No one's perfect. If you stumble, you apologize, and you make it right. Today, I do not apologize. I did not participate, was not aware, nor complicit in those said allegations.
So
for me, it's back to work and attacking with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
I mean, he's one of those guys, Hutton. I love listening to him also. But he's one of those dudes, it's like, are you Michael Scott or are you Colonel Nathan Jessup? Are you trolling people knowingly, like with a smirk on the inside the whole time when you're talking about this? And secretly you knew the whole plot with Connor Stallions and everything else going on, and in fact, you were encouraging of it the whole time? Or are you just so out of the loop and so into your own sauce that you just spit out enthusiastic one-liners like that all the time and you don't really know what's happening within your program? I just have a hard time deciding which he is.
Unknown to mankind.
I think he's more like Nathan Jessup. I think he's smirking on the inside, knowing exactly what he did.
He's absolutely a leader because he has everyone following his path and his sentiment, and no one rolls on him, right? Like that's not Michael Scott.
No.
So that was last year. Recently he's just like, no, we're not talking about it. But standing there last year, just going like, yeah, I got out, we won our title, peace. That we will not apologize. There will be no apology, and this is all about telling the truth, and integrity. And then the NCAA gives him a 10-year show cause. 10-year show cause means what, Chad? In the eyes of penalties for college athletics.
So what it means?
That's over the top when it comes to you will never coach again. May God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, you're in hell. You're in NCAA hell. Okay, so 10 years is bad. All right, 10-year show causes. How bad is it in the history of the NCAA and their punishment? Dave Bliss at Baylor got 10 years for covering up a murder on his own team.
Wow.
10-year show cause, okay, for Dave Bliss. Now, Jim Harbaugh technically is serving a 14-year show cause. Keep in mind, he cheated his ass off before with recruiting inducements and during COVID having players on campus when he wasn't supposed to and all this other
He lied to the NCAA.
Which basically is what Jeremy Pruitt got in trouble for at Tennessee. Some of the same stuff. Illegal recruiting weekends during COVID shutdown, cash inducements from Denard Robinson to prospects and other things like that. Nothing. Yeah, they didn't have McDonald's bags. No fast food bags for Michigan. A Michigan man would never give money away in fast food bags like Tennessee would. So 10 years for Dave Bliss. Now Jim Harbaugh is technically serving a 14-year show cause. When you put the 4 years before, his 10-year show cause doesn't start until 2028. So what kind of company does that put him in? There have been 3 15-year penalties, 15-year show causes in the history of the NCAA. In 2020, I did not know this story at all. Jerome Allen was the head men's basketball coach at Penn.
Okay.
He got 15 years. Okay, this is the company Jim Harbaugh's in right now. He accepted a $300,000 bribe from a guy who was a part of a huge Ponzi scheme that was a felon, that when the FBI was investigating the felon, they saw a $300,000 payment to the head coach at Penn so he would recruit his kid to be on the team. He wanted to play basketball in an Ivy League school, so the criminal paid the head coach at Penn to give his kid a spot on the team and help get him into the school. And that's what he did. He got a 15-year show cause for that. Phil Collins, this is coming in the air tonight. Phil Collins, 15 years. Love the drums in that one, too. He was betting on and against his own UNC Greensboro women's basketball team. So he was placing bets, big money, against his own team. He was an assistant at UNC Greensboro.
No one will notice this bet.
2019, 15 years. Okay, Jim Harbaugh's one behind him, 14 years for all this combined, all right? Yeah. And the other 15-year penalty, remember this story, Brad Bohannon at Alabama got 15 years because he was giving tips, insider tips to a gambler in Cincinnati who was betting at the Reds ballpark. That's the pantheon of the most corrupt coaches in NCAA history. A dude who took a $300,000 bribe from a felon to let his kid play on the basketball team. Another dude, Phil Collins, not the Phil Collins, secondary Phil Collins, who bet against his own women's basketball team. And Brad Bohannon, who essentially did the same thing, was giving tips about when guys were hurt and who wasn't going to pitch that day to load up big money against his Alabama baseball team. Those are the 3 coaches that got worse than Jim Harbaugh. That's it. That's the list. Jim Harbaugh is in the same company, according to the NCAA, as those 3 people.
And I mean, what would it have been had he not been so defiant with the chest out, the bravado of, screw you guys. No, we will not be apologizing. Everything was on the up and up. And nothing happened here.
Think if he was still the Michigan coach right now, too, with these penalties coming down. It's fine now because he can just say, like, I'm not going to engage or whatever he said.
So I wonder
after the Chargers preseason game, I'm not going to engage in this. But if he's the coach at Michigan, he's got to talk about it. And Michigan has to then show cause for the next 14 years as to why he could be the head coach in any of those 14 years.
So if you also face your own penalties, right? If you hire someone that's under a show cause without proving why you should.
Yeah, you self-impose. Essentially, usually that's the way it works. But like Bruce Pearl got a 3-year show cause for the barbecue
right.
at Tennessee, but he just waited. He went to the ESPN for those 3 years, then got hired by Auburn.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh was just like, screw it, I'll coach anywhere but in college. And who knows?
I vaguely remember this, but Dan Mullen they negotiated a 1-year show cause at Florida for recruiting violations or whatever was going on there, and he coached, I believe, during that 1-year show cause. So they actually showed cause to employ him to continue to do it because they negotiated a settlement with the NCAA where he had like probation and a 1-year show cause to continue being the coach at Florida.
What would well, here's the other question I have is, like, whenever we actually get to this super conference, like, in we have a governing body, is this going to, like, carry over? Or is this like everyone start fresh on a clean slate and, you know, you apply for reinstate? Like, how does it – I know we don't know the answer to this question, but is it really going to be the 10-year show cause whenever it's all said and done and we have a new governing body that's overseeing college football? Who knows what that looks like in 3 years? You know, this was more of instead of a slap on the wrist, a punch in the face of, like, we're going to put you in this upper tier of violations and, have fun in the NFL. Which you will.
Also, like, I know you're saying that, well, Michigan did in some ways cooperate, I guess, after the season was over.
Well, just by self-imposing things.
But they were so adamant about Harbaugh's innocence the whole time that I would buy that. Like, if you're a Michigan, if Michigan's going to appeal this, I would buy the appeal if they fired Harbaugh immediately. If they saw all this was going on, they're like, nope, he's out. This coach is going to take over the rest of the way, and they go on and win the national title and all that. A lot of programs have done that. They've gone ahead and fallen on the sword and say, yeah, the coach is dirty. He's corrupt. He's caught. He's out. Now we're going to negotiate with the NCAA. We're going to make sure that we get the most lenient penalty possible. Michigan didn't do that. Even to they're holding ceremonies for the guy when he leaves to go to the Chargers. Like, they have defended him at every single turn. So I just don't see any grounds for appeal. Also, I don't see any grounds why they would want to appeal because it's really not going to affect their program too much moving forward. It's going to cost them a lot of money. Yes. Are there avenues in which the University of Michigan, can go to a lot of different alums and make up that money and be just fine? Absolutely. So they're going to be fine. I don't understand the appeal.
Bob Stoops, our next guest, all-time winningest coach at Oklahoma. He knows a thing or two about the long wait for the regular season. Hey, is the energy level for you even right now high as we get ready for college football coming back in a couple of weeks?
Just like everybody. Isn't everybody excited for college football, pro football to start? Absolutely. I can't wait. Love this time of year. And, you got to admit, it's depressing when it's over at the end. When the Super Bowl's over or all the bowl games are over, it's terrible. But we're back at it now, so good.
How big a part of you, Coach, misses it, the grind of it or the daily preparation, especially during the month of August for a season? Or is that kind of completely behind you at this point when you think back to all those August days getting ready for a season?
Yeah, it's behind me now. I have to admit, first couple, 3 years, it was terrible. I mean, I went from someone asked me that, like, what was it like the first year? It was just absolutely incredibly awful. The second year was awful. The third year was really bad. So just little by little, it's gotten better. And not that it was ever the wrong decision for me. It's just hard when that's all you've ever done, to be different and not to be in the mix and in the fray, get going through camp and get ready for the season. It took a while.
So what you're describing is probably exactly what Nick Saban's feeling right now.
Absolutely. When that's all you've done your whole life, it's different, man. It's hard. It's, you think about it. You've been with a crew, a gang of guys your whole life. Players, when you played on teams, I played at Iowa, and some of those guys today are some of my best friends. And you go from being with all these guys all the time to, 75% of the time being by yourself so anyway, it gets, it's hard to get used to.
Bob Stoops, our guest.
How hard is it to get used to formulating this kind of a big picture coaching question for me, but formulating your culture and strategy of what you're going to be as a head coach? You obviously were a very successful one for a long time at Oklahoma, but working for different styles of coaches. Like, I would expect playing at Iowa for the coach you played for at Iowa and then coaching for Steve Spurrier at Florida are two very different experiences. So how do you sort of formulate that as you go through? Or did you always kind of know what kind of head coach you wanted to be?
No, I don't think you always know. You develop as you go. You have mental notes as you go. But ultimately, you have to be yourself. I don't think you can fake anything. You can't ever fake a locker room. You have to be who you are. And fortunately for me, the person I was closest to or felt I aligned with the most was Steve Spurrier. And that was my last 3 years as an assistant before I became a head coach, 96, 7, and 8. I was with Steve Spurrier at Florida. We won a national championship in 96. We were in the top 5 the next 2 years. I aligned with him as a person, as my personality. Everything about me was very similar. We're very similar people, and he's, to this day, a dear, dear friend. So for me, that was a huge opportunity to see I could be like this, be that kind of person, and win at the highest level. And so, the way we modeled our program, surely there's parts of Iowa, Kansas State, Coach Snyder and Coach Fry, but for the most part, it was after what we did at Florida is how I sort of modeled our program.
And Coach, when you talk about being yourself as a head coach, a guy that you coached as a player and also he coached with you, for you on your staff, is Josh Heupel. And that's the big takeaway that Hutton and I have every time we've interviewed him or talked to him. He always says that back, that it's important that you're yourself as a head coach and that players understand who you are and you're consistent in that approach and you're not trying to be something that you're not. That's something we always get from Josh Heupel. And I wonder if you had that same impression of him even as a player and coaching for you, that he was always who he was.
Absolutely. He's done a great job there at Tennessee. I really thought it'd take much longer, just with the sanctions, the problems they had before he arrived, and they've overcome them quickly. So, Josh was always a very motivating person, a true leader, and at Oklahoma, our turnaround didn't happen without him. He jump-started everything in 99, and then we go undefeated in 2000 to win the national championship. So he has just natural leadership to him.
What did you make of the NCAA penalties for Michigan that came out the end of last week? And the 10-year show cause, Chad and I have discussed, a 10-year show cause for a coach who doesn't seem to want to coach in college football anymore doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
It's not. A typical NCAA, late to the party, late with everything, not enough. Just encourages people to cheat. In the end, that banner's going to hang. Jim Harbaugh's not coming back to college football, so who cares? So that's a nothing penalty. Anyway, it's just, it's cheating at the highest level, and it's wrong.
Do you agree not to punish the future players of the program? At least that's what the sentiment was in this.
I do. I'm not, if I just walked into that program and, you're not expecting that. I'm not much on penalizing people now for something that was done before. I don't know what you could do on what they did before. Maybe you take away the banner. I don't know. But in the end, here's what everyone wants to say that's for Michigan. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? That wasn't a big deal. Well, then why'd they do it?
Well, and
tell me that.
Yeah, and that's what the response has been, right, Coach?
Let me tell you something. You got all that information. You know what's coming. That matters. I'll promise you.
So the response, and we've watched the documentary on Netflix with Connor Stallions, and we've seen a lot of Michigan, pundits that cover the program. Their response, Coach, is, well, everybody does it. Every team's got a Connor Stallions.
No,
everyone does it.
No, they don't. I was involved in college football for a long time. Never heard of such a thing. No one I've ever been with, no, everyone doesn't do it. I never did it. No one else did it. Now, sure, I look across the field and I recognize a signal from my naked eye. Hell yeah, that's my job. I know what's coming then. That's my job to do that. But filming people and scouting them ahead of time and having them on videotape and studying it all, no. That's flat out cheating. And I've never known anyone that I've been in a building with that's ever even been brought up or thought about. Now, again, I pay attention across the field as the coaches do. You recognize a signal from the naked eye, that's what you're supposed to do. Or even a quarterback signal. You might yell it out to your player out on the field, here's what's coming. Everyone, yeah, that happens. Do people film and go scout people and send people to different locations? No, that doesn't happen. And anyone who says that's wrong.
There would have to be more than just Harbaugh involved in this, or Sharon Moore getting one extra game suspension. Like, to the level you're describing, it's not just Connor Stallions and then Jim Harbaugh for a 10-year show cause, and that's it.
I don't know that. I didn't investigate it. It wouldn't be right for me to say. It's just flat out wrong. It's cheating the game. It's dead wrong. Anyone who says otherwise is just a Michigan fan or a Michigan alum, and that's it. No one does that.
Well, and
have you heard of it? This game's been going on a long time. How come if everyone does it, they're the only ones that are caught? That's not right.
And the Michigan defense in the beginning was, it's just some, unpaid staffer that was acting rogue and doing this on his own, and Coach Harbaugh didn't know. Do you buy for a second, Coach, when you hear that a head coach was ignorant to something like this happening within their program?
No, I don't. And, there are things that happen, I guess, that a head coach doesn't know. So I can, have a little respect for that, or empathy for that. But I'd like to think if anything, I knew anybody was doing anything, I'd tell my coaches. Every one of my coaches will tell you this. If I knew you were intentionally cheating recruiting, you'll be fired in 10 minutes. Let alone something as egregious as this. So my guys knew if you're doing anything intentionally that isn't, with the rules, you'll be fired, and it won't take long.
But we need an infrastructure in place for college football to have rules, to have regulations, in the NIL world and everything else. There needs to be a governing body that's not the NCAA over big-time college football. Would you ever be interested in being a part of that governing body as a former coach in the game for as long as you were a coach?
Hell no. If I was interested in working like that, I'd still be a head coach. So
good. That's a fair point. Yeah.
I don't know who would want that job.
Nick Saban doesn't want it. He's been asked a lot about it. He's like, nope, not for me.
We need someone that someone that wants the job, but someone
that's capable of doing it. I feel like everybody who wants the job isn't capable of doing it or isn't the right person for the job.
I don't want a lawyer in that position.
So it takes the reluctant leader to do it. The person who, like you, that doesn't want to do it. You're probably, because you don't want to do it, you're the one who needs to do it. That's the problem.
You're our George Washington.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not smart enough to do all that.
Well, I know that there would be further sanctions and penalties beyond a 10-year show cause for an NFL coach. No doubt. Hey, football's here. Let's get after it, Coach. Can't wait for kickoff.
Absolutely. It's the best. I love watching all of it. I watch every game I could possibly get, college and NFL, and I'm looking forward to it here in another week or so.
How much excitement is there around that Oklahoma program with John Mateer now at quarterback and a team that's inside, at least according to the AP, and I know you love preseason polls, I'm sure, as a coach, but inside the top 20 of the preseason poll?
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I love Brent Venables, his whole coaching staff. I'm excited to see what Ben Arbuckle will do as the O coordinator, and John Mateer. I've had a chance to bump into him a couple times. Really a neat guy. Got a lot of swagger to him. He's got great experience. To have that swagger, he's had success, and you could tell he's just that kind of guy, and it rubs off on the other players. So I'm excited for the year. We got an incredibly difficult schedule. Everybody's acknowledged that, but you got to go play it, and hopefully we can win our share of games and have a great year.
I want everyone to have an incredibly difficult schedule. I love the early kickoff matchups that we have this year. That on paper they look phenomenal. I hope we continue to see this. I hope we continue to see the scheduling that we've had, Coach.
Yeah, like OU playing Michigan.
Yeah, right.
I look back, I think it was 2003. Out of conference, we played Alabama and UCLA. So, that's what college football is about. Fans deserve it. If you're going to be one of the best, you got to play the other people that are the best. And it's easier in today's world that there's 12 playoff teams. Mm-hmm. The year we played Alabama and UCLA, it was 2 teams that had a chance for the BCS national championship. So, point being, it's you have more of an opportunity to play these type of games, these big games, and still be in the playoffs.
That's right. Hey, we love your insight. Hopefully, we can get you back on as the season progresses and get more of it.
Thank you.
Hey, good to be with you guys. Love OutKick.
Yeah,
Go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
There's Bob Stoops.
Appreciate you.